please join me in welcoming to the stage Gary Kamikawa from Amazon Music.
Good morning. Loud. I am so excited to be here. I hope that I can be as fabulous as Rich and carry that vibe going forward. Hopefully everyone, it's day 2, you had a fun time last night, and are awake, bright, saw the scenic sights. My discovery last night, I love coming to New York. I feel like I see something new every single time. And I stumbled upon, only I think it would be in New York, a giant statue of pigeon. And I was like, all right, we love our pigeons here. I'm excited to spend some time with you and talk about music's journey from going, as was mentioned last night, I've been a Movable Inc. customer for 3 times in a row, 8 or 9 years now. And so I'm going to talk about Amazon Music's journey as we started with Movable Inc. and kind of where we have come today and being able to light up cross-journey orchestration and personalization. But to get it going, let's start with a little...
Red hearts, that's what I'm on, yeah. Come give me something I can feel, Don't you want me like I want you, baby? Don't you need me like I need you now? Sleep tomorrow, but tonight go crazy. All you gotta do is just meet me at the...
Still love you in Tennessee, you're always on my mind. And mama.
So that's one of the reasons why I love working at Amazon Music, is everyone has a relationship with music, right? Whether it's live concerts, whether it's audio in different forms, having your merch, everybody has a connection with music, and it speaks to everyone. Whether or not you listen to Amazon Music or Spotify or whatever, music is something that resonates with everyone. And so it's something that I love thinking about as part of this personalization, is being able to connect music with other people. In talking about how we got from starting with Movable Inc. to getting to this vision of having personalization everywhere our customers are touching with us, right? Being able to meet them where they are, to have them have a pleasurable experience and thinking about music and the artists that they're fans of, or the audiobook or podcasts if you're crime junkies. It's all about trying to make it real and be a relationship with them. In that journey, we'll kind of cover 4 different areas. One about, first, activating real-time personalization. Bringing things to life in real time, which is the power of Movable Inc. compared to, okay, let's send you something and hope it's still relevant days after. Being able to scale and automate the work that we do and making, let our marketers and the team think more about the experiences than actually the work that it takes to create and build these campaigns and manage them. And then, so moving to then be able to create these engaging experiences that surprise and delight fans everywhere. And then ultimately being able to realize, again, this notion of a connected journey, from going from being siloed campaigns, like, okay, we send an email, we send a push, we put stuff on the web, and all of them being kind of, yes, we hope that they're coordinated, but yet they're being done in different silos. And yet now with Movable Inc., we've been able to realize more of that connected journey. So first off, when we started 6 years ago, the very first thing was, as a prior Movable Inc. customer, I'm like, okay, we need to bring this to Amazon Music. So I signed the deal, we got them going, and I had to convince marketing, like, okay, this is why this is going to be valuable. And so what we started out with was, okay, what's the easiest way that we can get started? And of course, one of the easiest ways is countdown timers and promotions, because I can just say, okay, every customer, there's the end of the offer, and it's something we can get going with. So in the very beginning, we started off with using promotions. So we did promotional scratch-offs, we did the countdown timers, and immediately our campaign saw a huge impact, right? You can see here, we had over 900% increase in our click-through rate. And what that ended up doing was it allowed marketing to get excited. They all of a sudden started realizing the value and saying, oh, this is amazing. It's already having an impact to our business. We're driving more conversions for people signing up. And so then it became okay, Gary, what else do you have? What other tricks do you have in the sleeve, and how can we use this in other places? Which then led to, okay, making the investment of how do I bring that real-time personalization to life? And so we did the work. Fortunately, I oversee our engineering team that does all our MarTech investments, which I know is unique. Many times as marketers, we're like, okay, we got to go convince an engineering team, like, hey, can you do these things for us? This is why it's important. I even know some Amazon businesses that are still dealing with daily file uploads and don't have API connections. Hopefully that will continue to change over time. But so first thing was like, okay, let's create some API integration with our own recommendations, which my team oversees, kind of the personalization of what's the best artist, track, album, new releases you might be interested, all things that happen outside of music. So we connected our APIs, so we had all those recommendations, and so one of the first things that ended up happening was Amazon Music was sending these weekly newsletters of recommendations, editorial content, and so at that time, you would have a bunch of different marketers in every single locale coming up with what's the newsletter going to be. They're like, okay, what was a new release we want to highlight? What are some popular music that we want to do? But it lacked real personalization to the individuals themselves, and so once we had this hooked up to our personalization, our recommendation engine, all of a sudden then our newsletter was able to be completely automated. So everything from picking what, for you or in our fans, like, okay, did they mostly listen to stations or playlists or albums? And so figuring out recommendations tied to them. Figuring out which new releases they might be interested in. If there was any live streaming concerts, we were able to show if someone is, if you're a fan of an artist and they're currently streaming on Twitch, thanks to COVID, a lot of the artists were like, okay, we don't have concerts, so let's go ahead and just do our own little mini concerts on Twitch. And so we would show that dynamically if they were playing. Great. You see a live streaming, click here now. If they weren't playing, you wouldn't see it. And then we were able to further optimize, each one of these were Movable link, tactics, apps, modules, whatever you want to call them. But then we got to the point where we could make it dynamically across all of them. So first was like, okay, here's this app doing recommendations, here's this one doing new releases. And then we were able to get it so it would actually resort based on the content we thought a customer would most be interested in and engage with. And so not only did this have a huge impact both in lift, but those, I think it was about 15 different marketers worldwide that were creating these, all of a sudden they just had to do a final review each week just to make sure nothing was crazy, and off it went. And so we saved them time to kind of focus on more important matters like, okay, actually go think about interesting campaigns, not just spending each week trying to create this newsletter. Now that I felt like we kind of dominated or had the email channel underway, like we had all these recommendations and new campaigns were going, the next was kind of okay, what's the next channel we want to move forward? So that led us to mobile push. Again, we already had the recommendations, we already had things coming through, and so how do we create this rich push experience? And so let's see, go. So then we just started doing things like different push notifications, dynamic new release, as well as then this year's, our year in review, Amazon Music Delivered, where we could basically create these custom personalized insights to customers based on the overall year in review, and so it would basically be tailored to you, as well as then the data was happening real time. So what we found is, even as people engaged initially, we found on average, most customers were coming back at least 1.5 times. So we had some customers that are coming back 2, 3 times, 4 times over the course from when we first made it available in early December through the rest of the holiday season, and trying to see what stats change. I know for me personally, when it said I was in the top 4% on Stuff You Should Know podcast, I was like, okay, I need to start binging so I can get myself higher up, and let me see if I can get to 3, 4, or 4, 3, 2%. And then my daughter sent me a text with her being in the, I think she was 0.9% top listener of Taylor Swift. And she said, Dad, this is the best day of my life. Like, great, sure, you're in college, you're doing other amazing things, but I'm glad Taylor Swift being a top listener on Amazon Music is the best day of your life, greatest achievement ever. And so again, it's like bringing those things to light that people just get excited about. And I think, everyone likes to see, again, the passion that they have, the different artists, where they rank and those type of things, and obviously then sharing it with friends. And so, again, it's about trying to use these different channels to then be able to engage. So we had push, we had email going strong, which led us then to say, okay, what's next? And so we have our own in-app messaging service, and so we said, okay, how do we light that up? We could run our campaigns, we do our campaigns, but how do we actually make it even more personal to the user? And how do we take advantage of the capabilities that Movable Ink has? The very first thing that we did is kind of going back to the tried and true promotions. When we run our holiday promo, so every holiday season we run a promo. It usually starts around beginning of November and goes through December, and it's kind of going throughout. Well, historically, the issue was, obviously you're seeing, if you open up the app and you're seeing an advertisement, after you've seen that 1, 2, 3 times, if it's the same one, you just get ad fatigue. And so, people would just kind of, all right, I'm going to dismiss it. And within Amazon tools, the only way we could essentially create these different campaigns was we would have to basically build out 8, 9, 10 campaigns. We'd have to figure out the schedule and say, okay, these ones are going to appear on these days, these ones on those days, and kind of create this rotating calendar over the course of 2 months. And we would have to, due to Amazon's system, it was like, okay, you had to book that for each marketplace. And so you ended up doing like 370 plus campaigns just to make this become a reality. Well, once we had Movable Ink, we basically said, okay, super easy enough. We put in the different creative versions with the different languages, and essentially had one campaign, one tag that we just pasted into the system, and essentially everything was being done by Movable Ink to kind of create that essentially avoiding that ad fatigue. And because it was to the person, it wasn't so much of like, okay, you had specific days. It was looking at, well, when did this person see this? So then what's the next version refresh that we would do over the course of that season? And again, in this case, one of the big things was just the significant amount of time reduction to kind of set up these campaigns and be a massive win, which was great. Our in-app marketing team was excited, happy, because, again, Q4 is a crazy time for us. It's when we have a significant growth in terms of our customer base. When you think about holidays, people buying echoes, and so that's one of our biggest drivers is voice and our experience there. And so it's just a crazy time. And so being able to not have to spend as much time doing the campaign building and just let this running was a huge savings, as well as then a huge impact. The one thing we discovered, though, was because Movable Ink is a static, was a static image, like, all right, the whole thing is one click through, we had to do a bunch of hacky things because typically you'll have the, like, okay, no thanks, I'm not interested, or a dismiss button. Otherwise, you gotta get past this whole splash screen. And that wasn't possible. So we were kind of doing these hacky things like, okay, we're gonna lay this image, and then I'm gonna have this overlay of our own text running. And so it kind of was like, it took a bunch of work, but we got it to work. But we're like, hey, Movable Ink, like, this is our challenge. We need to be able to have in-app messaging that we can have multiple clicks, like T's and C's, no thanks, dismiss, to actually make it that we can fully utilize you guys. And so, again, our great partnership with Movable Ink, working with Brian, Ben on the team, and kind of saying, okay, this is what this will do for us if we can light this up. So we began working with them on what a HTML solution would look like via Movable Ink. And so, fortunately, they're like, yes, we want to do this. We see the value in it. And so we spent a bunch of time. How do we build this? How do we make this reality? And so then, once it was lit up this year and kind of we were piloting with them, all of a sudden, we were able to unlock a whole lot more rich experiences with it. So we could have a greater variety of campaigns, different content. And so all of a sudden, now it's kind of taken over the majority of our in-app messages because we can, again, do this personalization. We can basically make it real to you. If there's artists or different things that you're interested in, it just made it that much more personalized, and yet following the same template, and then being able to support all these different links. And so, again, it's like that journey of kind of building upon what's the next thing, and then being able to have that great partnership with Movable Ink that's always open to say, great, what next thing that we can do and innovate on. Now, we're like, okay, we've got email, we've got rich push, we've got mobile. What's the next thing? And we said, great, let's start figuring out web. Now that, especially, we're like, okay, we have some of these widgets, how do we light them up onto the web? And so we began with doing things like the web timer, our landing pages, being able to put recommendations. And so if you were already an existing customer, came to one of our sites, we already knew some things about you, and we would show you, recommendations of like, hey, why you should sign up maybe for our paid subscription, and that you'd be able to unlock this content. If we did promotions, doing countdown timers specifically to that. Same thing if you weren't a customer. Basically, we did what we call cold start recommendations of looking at your Amazon purchases, your Prime Video watch, your Audible, and being able to say, okay, what other signals do I have to kind of personalize it? And so that was like the next phase. Once we unlocked that, then it's like, okay, if I have all these channels doing their personalization and kind of running the individual campaigns, that became the next conversation we were having with Movable Inc. to say, okay, this is great, but how do I bring all these things together? How do I make it that truly I can have a connected experience with our customers across all of these channels and surfaces, and being able to meet the customers where they are? And that was the ultimate vision, is to say, I want us to look like we are one company, not a bunch of different channels that's like, okay, you're telling me one thing here, then you're telling me a different thing over here, which, sure, it might be even personalized in that, but it doesn't feel like it's a cohesive story. There's no kind of journey in there to say, well, if I engage on one place, how does that actually impact and change me in other places? And so that's been like this year's focus and this year's partnership. And so kind of the first one was, we think about, with Amazon Music, we do live streaming. So for example, Stagecoach, we were the streaming partner for that. And so we kind of would have these campaigns of like, all right, Stagecoach is coming up. Then go ahead and add to your calendar, which artist you're interested in, take a poll. And so we started getting just some of these other signals. And then we were able to, once the concert was live, be able to show to customers like, okay, different artists that they were interested in. Like, okay, if you're a fan of Zach Bryan, this person's live now, go ahead and click through to stream, watch, listen. As well as then be able to tie that to push notifications, say, great, the person, this artist that you're interested in now is live. And so we kind of had this connected of, hey, we've got this email, and then we have this push tied to it. And so that was kind of the first stage. And again, being able to do this across other music festivals, I mentioned Stagecoach, Coachella, Nelly Fest, all of them are now being able to light up for customers, kind of have them more connected to the fans and be able to listen and engage, not just listening to them, but being able to watch them on stage and feel like you're a part of it, even from the comfort of your living room. Now, the one that is coming up, although we have some things live of pieces of it, is really being able to tie, again, being able to adapt across these surfaces. And so in this example, if a person was on our artist merch store, so Amazon, obviously we have specific artist merch stores where they sell their content, t-shirts, whatever. And so if you were on an artist merch store and you're on Doja Cat as this example, and you see the generic offer with the countdown timer of like, great, take advantage of it. If you click through, how often do we provide offers to customers and they don't take the offer on the first click? They click, they're like, okay, let me explore, see what the offer's about, and I'll come back later, right? Especially if you're like, okay, you've got 2-3 days, then like, okay, I'm not ready to sign up now, but I'll come back. Once they actually click through and we had that signal of like Doja Cat there on the Doja Cat store, now all of a sudden what happens is real time, any email that they got will actually update with using Doja Cat visuals to say, okay, not only do we show, we know you're interested in Doja Cat, but we can use those visuals, but we can change the message itself. And so the value prop of going to Amazon Music Unlimited is you can listen on demand. And so we kind of change the message of like, hey, you can stream Doja Cat 24/7 with Amazon Music Unlimited. And so we kind of enhance the language of the offer to be based on the intent that we know that they have. And then when they open up the app, same type of thing. We're able to customize that imagery just because of that intent. And so from one engagement on one surface, of them engaging with kind of a generic promotion timer for that, then all of a sudden, like immediately, all the other channels are activated, using that signal, that behavioral data, and basically making it that much more personalized to the customer. And so all of a sudden now, we kind of realized this, like, okay, this is how we can better personalize the journey for customers. Right now, again, promotion, but we're also looking at it in things like onboarding journeys. being able to know what you've engaged in, like what we've shown, because we send an email, we don't know if they're going to open it. We send them a push. Did they actually engage with it? Did they go to our website where we had kind of information of tutorials or different things that they can take advantage of? And so all of a sudden this notion of, we always hear about the right channel, right time, right message becomes, it goes away, because now we can say, all right, whichever channel, we can personalize and take that message forward. As I look ahead, the big focus is how do we now drive more AI into this? How do we bring more personalization and kind of partnering with Movable Inc. and DaVinci and looking and saying, how do we kind of partner our data, our models, along with the intelligence that DaVinci has, even if we're not using the full send capabilities, but again, having those conversations like, how do we partner together to make AI do a lot more of the driving of this, the personalization, and deciding which are the right messages at the right time. And so, again, it's amazing the different partnership that we've had with Movable Inc., bringing these to light, bringing these to reality, and being able to do the next frontier. Key takeaways, really quickly, since I already see the red light buzzing at me, and you guys want to listen to Andy Cohen more than you want to listen to me. Big thing I would say is, one, you need to be able to take risks, take challenges. Not every experiment we did actually led to a lift. Sometimes there wasn't a lift, but then we would look at things like, okay, did it save time, save hours, or whatever? And so kind of finding what value and kind of continue to chug away at it. Marketers sometimes were too comfortable, like, no, this is what we know how to do. This new thing seems like, how does this become a reality? And so that's where establishing the evangelists, of getting that first team, the promotion team, excited about it. Then they became the ones that was kind of talking about how great it was, which then the rest of the marketers like, okay, how can I take advantage of this? And I want this in my world, as well as then across the different channel owners that we have. Lastly, I would say staying adaptable. We've heard a bunch about AI. We've heard a bunch about, again, these new technologies that if we're not staying adaptable, if we're not embracing the new things and kind of challenging ourselves to say, how do we innovate? How do we do something more? Like I said, sometimes it won't work. Sometimes you're not going to see immediate results, but we still need to be looking forward and trying to innovate, test, learn, and find the ways that it work. And again, like I said, some of these took multiple experiments to kind of find that right note, find the right content, messaging that really resonated. And so, from everything from AI to all the different capabilities that Movable Inc. offers, we always need to be staying adaptable. We need to be learning and being curious about, hey, what's next and how do I apply this into my world? And so with that, thank you.